It's now time for my favorite segment of the podcast called Ask Zach. It's the way I end every single one of my podcasts. It's a way to connect with people who listen to the show and allow me to read their questions on the air. People who support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. You give $1 a month. You can give more if you want. I love your money. I would appreciate that. Helps me pay the bills. But if you give $1 a month or more, it gives you access to submit questions to me, and I only accept questions through Patreon. But you can send it to me through DMs, on direct messages on Patreon, or you can comment on some of my posts. I post on there, hey, the next Ask Zach is coming. Leave your comments below for the show. And I will not guarantee that if you submit a question, I'll read it on the show. I don't. But I do guarantee I'll read your question. At least I'll look at it with my eyeballs, and then I pick the best couple and I read them on the show and answer them every episode. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions I want to answer today. And I want to start with Alex. Alex says, hey, Zach, I watched the film analysis on Gardner Minshew you did. But do you think he will succeed being put in the starting QB role in his rookie season? So if you don't know, during week 1, the Jaguars starting quarterback, Nick Foles, got hurt. He's out for the season. And he was replaced by a rookie quarterback, Gardner Minshew, a guy I absolutely love. I did a film analysis of him coming out of college. I met him in college when I was at Washington State. In week 1, in his first game, he went 22 for 25, had 275 yards passing, had an 88% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So number 1, I love watching Gardner Minshew succeed. He is just I've met him. I love him. He views life as one great adventure to make the most of. I think that's so cool, man. His attitude is infectious. He's kind of become, there's a bunch of memes about him right now. He's kind of become overnight the Chuck Norris of the NFL. It's just so cool, and I'm so happy for him. Now, it's important to remember about Gardner Minshew that, going into his senior year, he graduated from his old school. I think it was East Carolina. And he grad transferred to Washington State to become their quarterback. He was fantastic. He balled out at Washington State, and then he moved on to the NFL. He got drafted, I believe, in the 5th round by the Jaguars, and he's now the Jaguars starting quarterback. But in an alternate timeline, he was very, very close from not going to Washington State and instead going to Alabama. He would have gone to Alabama to be their 3rd-string quarterback. That was literally his plan. He was comfortable with that, because his goal was to eventually become a graduate assistant at Alabama and get to coach football. So he went from almost being Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts backup to holding a clipboard this year. He would be holding a clipboard right now as a graduate assistant at Alabama. To instead, he's now the Jaguars starting quarterback. What a weird world and what a weird turn of events. That's how cool this world is that one tiny decision to go to Washington State instead of Alabama led him to this position now where he's the Jaguars starting quarterback. Unbelievable. It's just so cool. And that's why, again, I go back to that. His views on life, again, he treats life like it's an adventure, and he's going to make the most of it. That's so very cool. It's inspiring to me, and I hope more people listen to that and learn from Gardner Minshew and be more like him. Now, Gardner Minshew week 1 played fantastic. Week 2, I think he left some on the table. It was a key 3rd and 5 where he missed Leonard Fournette down the left sideline on a wheel route. And they narrowly lost to the Texans 13-12. Now, for the record, Gardner Minshew led a comeback in the 4th quarter. He scored with a couple seconds left. They missed this 2-point conversion and ended up losing the game. But the moxie from Gardner Minshew, it's hard to root against. He's playing great. He's got flaws. He's not perfect, but man, is he a fighter. He's scrappy. I love the guy. Now, the question that Alex asked was, will Gardner Minshew succeed as a Jaguars starting quarterback in his rookie season right now? I believe he's going to succeed. Now, will he win? That's a different question, and I'm not as confident there. I didn't even believe that the Jaguars were going to win a lot of games with their starting quarterback, Nick Foles. So what does succeed mean? I think if he has a good year and plays well, he succeeds. I think he's going to succeed. But the schedule is not easy coming up for the Jaguars. They play the Colts twice. They play the Titans twice. They play the Chargers, the Falcons. They play the Broncos, who have 2 great defensive ends. They're going to probably bring a heavy pass rush at Gardner Minshew. But the Jaguars also have a lot of winnable games on their schedule coming up. They play the Saints week 6 without Drew Brees, play the Buccaneers, the Jets, the Bengals, the Raiders, the Panthers. Those are a lot of winnable games for the Jaguars. But you also have to acknowledge, in the first 2 games, Gardner Minshew's played pretty great, and the Jaguars are still 0-2. Week 1, Minshew was incredible, and they still lost to the Chiefs. So I think it's possible Gardner Minshew plays great all year, and it's still not enough to have a winning record, even have a lot of winning success, because the Jaguars team in general isn't that great. So Gardner could play great all year, still have a losing record, and I hope that does not reflect poorly on him, because he, right now, has been my favorite story so far of the NFL season. I love Gardner Minshew. He's fun. He's awesome. He's a great guy, and he's making the most of every opportunity he gets, and I love it. I love watching the guy succeed. Okay, the next question is from Lawrence. And by the way, before I read this question, Lawrence, you make an assumption in this comment. I don't know that you fully understand, but I do appreciate the sentiment. Lawrence says, Zach, Lawrence, back at you again. He says, overly excited about you coming back sooner than I expected. I think you made the right choice, seeing as you have the best sports podcast in the game. I don't know that you understand why I made the choice I made. There's a painful, long reason behind it, but I am glad to be back doing the show. I'm grateful for the compliment. I think it's a great show. I'm very proud of it. And I'm going to read the rest of your question now, Lawrence. But again, I want to say, we've talked before. I'm so grateful for your support. It means a lot to me. Lawrence says, anyway, Zach, if you had to choose between being Teddy Bridgewater or Mason Rudolph to take over a franchise because of an injury, which player would you rather be at this moment and why? So would I rather be Teddy Bridgewater taking over for Drew Brees in New Orleans, or Mason Rudolph taking over right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Oh, man. My gut says, I go back and forth. I'm going to tell you I'm not going to answer the way you want. I'm not going to pick one. I'm going to say both and why. My gut says Teddy Bridgewater, because the Saints have a better roster and they have a better coach who works well with quarterbacks, Sean Payton. So I think that Teddy Bridgewater is better set up to succeed. I do. I think that's great. But the looming problem is, first of all, you're replacing both quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph and Teddy Bridgewater are replacing legendary quarterbacks. Drew Brees in New Orleans, Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. They're both injured. But the weird part about Teddy Bridgewater is he's been given the keys to a Lamborghini, but he only gets to drive it for 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, he's got to give the keys back and give it back to the owner. That's a weird situation where you're a placeholder, so the team's not going to be all in on you because they know Drew Brees is coming back. From an emotional standpoint, that's very weird as a locker room. He's got a better team, but at some point, he's going to have to give it back. If you go back to that analogy, Mason Rudolph was simply, it's not as nice of a car. Like the Steelers are not as good a roster as the Saints, but Mason Rudolph was just given the car. He wasn't just given the keys for a couple weeks. Mason Rudolph has full control. He's steering the ship now. Big Ben is not coming back this year, and he might never come back if Mason Rudolph kicks butt and kills it. If Mason Rudolph can steal the job away from Big Ben, I think Big Ben would retire. So, I don't know. I think Mason Rudolph has an opportunity to win over a franchise and win over a city, and it's a far different and far better opportunity than Teddy Bridgewater does. Like Teddy Bridgewater, no matter how well he plays, he's going to have to give the job back to Drew Brees at some point. There's no way. Knowing Drew Brees can come back, it's not a long-term gig for Teddy Bridgewater. Mason Rudolph has a chance to say, this is my team, and it's mine now. He has a chance to completely win over the city of Pittsburgh. And so I think after talking through it with myself, I have a bunch of notes, but I have no actual final verdict here. Teddy Bridgewater has a better team to work with, yes. But Mason Rudolph has a better opportunity to make a team his own. So I think I might rather be Mason Rudolph right now than Teddy Bridgewater. There's something to be said for being the man. It's cool when you have... It's hard to come off the bench and then give it back. I've done it before. It's painful, and it's hard, and it's not fun. So I think I would rather be Mason Rudolph in this situation. Okay, John asked a question. It's absolutely hilarious. It's John. Just if you're listening, I hope you probably are. You're a Patreon supporter, John. I love your question so much. It's hilarious, and it made me laugh out loud when I read it. The question is this: the pizza delivery guy shows up at your door. It's Danny DeVito. I love it. Like that's such an unnecessary thing, but I love that he put it in there. It's creative and funny. So this Danny DeVito, he's holding a large pizza. He tells you that you won a contest. You get a free pizza every day for the rest of your life. There's only one catch. You have to honestly believe in your heart that the Patriots will go undefeated. Do you get the pizza or not? God, my gosh. I'm so proud of that. I have the best followers in the world. That's amazing. Because what John could have done, by the way, John could have just written the question, do you think the Patriots are going to go undefeated or not? But instead, he created a creative universe where Danny DeVito shows up at my door with a pizza. And if I believe it in my heart of hearts. So it's the same question. It's a far more creative way to ask it. And John, I just appreciate that so much. John, man, I'm sorry. I don't get the pizza. I do not get the pizza. I would love to have pizza the rest of my life. I would want the pizza. And now I'm allergic to dairy, so I probably couldn't eat the pizza. But I wouldn't get the pizza because I do not believe that the New England Patriots are going to go 16-0. I just am too, I think, rational of a human. I don't know. They play a stretch between week 9 until week 14 that's incredibly tough. They play week 9, the Ravens. Then they have a bye week. Week 11, they play the Eagles. Week 12, they play the Cowboys. Week 13, they play the Texans. And then week 14, the Chiefs go to Foxborough. And I don't think you can play that many talented teams in a row and win all 5 games. I just don't think it's possible. And so, yeah, I don't think the Patriots are going to go undefeated. Not to mention, by the way, in that stretch from about, from the first week in November until early December, they have a bunch of tough games, but they play 2 games in particular, the Ravens and the Chiefs, where they're playing teams that are potential playoff teams in the AFC. They're not going to throw out everything they have against the Ravens and the Chiefs. That's not how the Patriots operate. What they do is they play a vanilla scheme, hope to win with their game plan, and then they collect everything on film. What they hope is that the Ravens and the Chiefs do everything they possibly can to win that game so that they can get those answers on film and say, aha, we'll make a bunch of adjustments to what you do. So I'm not saying the Patriots throw games early in the year, but I don't think they try to do everything they possibly can to win in those games either. They run vanilla schemes. They get it on film because the Patriots would rather beat you in the playoffs than beat you during the regular season. They don't care. They don't want to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs week 9 and week 14. They want to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs in the playoffs because the Patriots are trying to go to a Super Bowl. So no, in my heart of hearts, I do not believe that the Patriots are going to go 16-0. However, as a guy who loves football, it would be so fun. And it would be good for my show. People would be angry. It would just be a riot. It would be awesome. And so, as a storyteller, yes, of course, I'm rooting for the Patriots to go 16-0. And by the way, people think I'm a Patriots fan. No, I just like good stories, and the Patriots every year provide me with all kinds of content to talk about. But are the Patriots going to go 16-0? I do not believe so. Okay, Daniel asked a question. Daniel says, after seeing Murray, he means Kyler Murray, at full speed for a few weeks, what is your opinion on his transition to the NFL from the college game? And are you worried that his situation with the Cardinals will lead him to having a shorter career or the development of bad habits due to frequently being behind and not having a great offensive line, etc.? Okay, man, Daniel, I don't think Kyler Murray looks bad. I actually am maybe I have a lot of patience. I think we should all have patience for rookie quarterbacks. But in the 2 games I've seen from Kyler Murray, he's actually playing pretty well. I mean, I'm impressed. He's not amazing. He's a rookie quarterback for sure. But week 1, he led the Cardinals to a 4th quarter comeback, which took the game to overtime. Now, the game, they didn't win. The game ended in a tie. But that really cool in the 4th quarter for Kyler Murray to step up the way he did week 1. And the dude's throwing the ball all over the place. I mean, week 1, I understand, by the way, this is the nature of Cliff Kingsbury's offense. It's an air raid offense. He's going to throw the ball a ton. But week 1, Kyler Murray had 54 passing attempts. He was 29 for 54, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Week 2 against the Ravens had 40 passing attempts, 25 for 40, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But still, man, He's throwing the ball more than any rookie I've ever seen. He's throwing confidently. He can definitely hang in the NFL. He looks very capable as a quarterback, and he's holding his own. I'm not really worried about his ability as a quarterback. I think he's going to steadily improve, and you just got to be patient and let him grow because he looks very impressive to me. I don't think any other quarterback could step in and do what he's done in that offense. He looks really good. Here's my concern, though, I was talking to my dad about this. The question I wonder about Kyler Murray is, what is his presence like in the locker room? There have been a lot of reports that he's quiet and non-communicative. Communicative? He doesn't talk a lot, okay? I'm too bad at English to understand and explain that. But my concern to me is not his plays. Does Kyler Murray have a lot of presence in the locker room? Is he a big leader that people follow? If he's not talking, he's that quiet guy in the corner, that's more concerning to me than him struggling on the field, which he's not, by the way, struggling on the field. He's been not great. The way he's ended drives haven't been incredibly great, and he could do a better job in the red zone, stuff like that. But Kyler Murray's fine. Is he a leader? That's my question, because he's so quiet. And I look back to the interview with Dan Patrick where doesn't talk. He just is. That interview with Dan Patrick was awkward and weird. I think if you know what I'm talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. But it's really, there's a weird interview with Dan Patrick where he doesn't say anything. And it's just a bad interview. And if Kyler Murray's a silent introvert, look, I'm an introvert, by the way. No one believes me when I say that. I don't like people very much. I don't like public. I'm a quiet guy who likes to stay home. And if Kyler Murray is a really quiet guy who, when he's with his team, isn't loud, and not just loud, but doesn't have presence, that's a problem. I'm an introvert, but when I'm with people, I can turn it on and have presence. If Kyler Murray doesn't have presence around people, that's a concern, and that's a problem. And so that's my number one concern right now with Kyler Murray. It's silly. I don't know how to value that or judge that. I don't know. We'll just have to see as time goes on. But the quiet rumblings I've heard is that there's concern about Kyler Murray as a leader. The last question I want to talk about is from Byron. Byron goes, why do you wear number 13? Is it your favorite number, or do you have another favorite number, and why? So I talked about this, first of all, I wore number 13 as my game jersey in college football. And I wore number 6 in practice. I got to choose my number 6. I wanted that because I look kind of like Baker Mayfield. But I've never had a favorite number. To me, a number is just a number. And actually, the reason why I wore 13 was because I honestly didn't care. My coach said, do you have any preferences? I said, no, I don't. I want to be low maintenance and easy. Give me whatever's available. They gave me whatever was available. I've never understood, I guess it makes sense. If you're like Antonio Brown or Tom Brady, or if you're a giant, incredibly famous athlete with millions of followers, it makes sense to want to consistently wear the same number because part of your brand is built around that number. But if you're in high school, if you're in college, and, unless if your brother dies and your brother wore number 44 and you want to wear number 44, dude, that makes sense. Wear your brother's number to honor him. But if you don't have a reason and you just are like, I want 8 because 8 is cool. That's weird. I've never understood that. And I've never understood Tom Brady's 12, so I want to wear 12. I kind of jokingly did with Baker Mayfield, but it was more of a joke because they called me Baker in our quarterback room. So I don't know. I've never been a guy who cared about what number I was because it doesn't matter. It's just a number. The jersey, as long as you have a jersey, you can play football. Playing the game is more important. So yeah, that's long answer. That's why I had 13, was simply because I didn't care what number I wore. I do want to give a shout out to 2 people. That's all the questions I'm going to answer for today, but I am doing a topic on Friday. There's a couple things I just didn't make it to talk about today. Wasn't able to talk about Jalen Hurts. Daniel Jones was named the starting quarterback of the Giants. I want to sit on that for a little bit. On Friday, I want to do a film analysis of Luke Falk, the Jets' backup quarterback, who had a great game on Monday Night Football. And then, Jack, I want to answer your question on Friday during Ask Zach. I want to talk about Utah football. If you don't know, I will be in Utah in a couple weeks for Washington State versus Utah. I'll be broadcasting out of Salt Lake City with a team there. Super cool, very excited. I just got confirmation. I'm so excited. It'll be great. So I'll be in Utah in a couple weeks broadcasting for that. And so, Jack, I can't wait to answer your question about Utah football on Friday. And then Gregert, I'm going to answer your question on Friday as well. It's about new NFL coaches. I loved your guys' questions. I felt bad not answering them today, but I want to save them for Friday. I liked your questions, though. So Jack And Gregert, if you're listening, your time is coming. I love you guys. And Caleb, I forgot to I know you sent me one. Oh, Caleb Shuri, if you're listening, I will answer your question if I can too. Guys, I love you all so much. This last couple weeks, I don't want to say very much about what happened with my college football team. It was painful. It was hard. It's been a hard time. I love the people there. I love my friends, love my teammates, love my head coach. He's a great man and a great head coach. And I've really, I am proud of the way I conducted myself while I was a part of my football team. And, you know, I shouldn't say any more. I don't want to. I'm not comfortable. I'm not ready to talk about it. But I love you guys who are listening. It means a lot to me. I thank you so very much. And I hope you have a great night. Ba-dum-bum. Bam. We are done.